Hey everybody, welcome to Dave and Will's Guitar. Thanks for joining me again. I really appreciate you being here. Today, we've got a new guitar for you. We're gonna go through its specs, what I think it's good, what I think makes it good, what I think makes it a little maybe not so good, depending on what you're looking for. And of course, we'll have some demos at the end, some nice audio demos from someone better than myself playing those. And we'll take a look and see what this thing looks like. So, today is a Firefly guitar. And of course, these are all named very silly. Like this is a FFST, and of course their models. I think this was just named like Olympic White or White, I can't remember. But as you know from their website, you kind of just have to look and see what's available. But they had this one in stock for quite a while. So I'm sure a lot of you picked it up, and of course I'm sure they'll have it back because it sold out within a relatively quick succession of it coming out and then, you know, being moved off the platform. So what do I like about this guitar? Well, first let's start off with just basic specs of it, and then we'll go through those very things, and then the things that I've done to change a few of the things that I didn't like, and things that you might want to look at in the future if you happen to buy one, or if you look at getting another Firefly guitar of a similar quality or make. So this guitar came with locking tuners. If we're starting from the head, we'll go down. I'll try to make this in some sort of a reasonable fashion, moving from one side to the other. But let's start with the headstock, right? So it's got a beautiful, nice roasted look. And we'll get to the back of that neck from the headstock and what that looks like. But again, we have locking tuners, and the locking tuners are awesome. Have no issues with these. They move very smoothly. I'm surprised that the tuners from Firefly are as quality as they are, considering how cheap these guitars are. These are unbranded tuners, there's nothing on there, so who knows who makes them, but they feel like a good part. They don't slip, they lock in place, and they hold tune well. Moving up from that, we do have a bone nut, and then after measuring this bone nut and seeing the specs of where the string falls as opposed to where it lands on the fret, we are all within spec. So just if you don't know those specs, it's 20 thousandths of an inch on the E and A, and then 18 thousandths on the G and D string there, and then the B and E should be around 16 thousandths of an inch off the fret. And I use a StewMech digital gauge for that. I don't use feeler gauges, so I try to get the most accurate reading I can for you guys, so you have the most accurate information, I suppose. So moving up from that bone nut, we have all these stainless steel frets, and they're all ball-ended. They're absolutely awesome. It's one of my like things about Firefly guitars that I like a lot, is that they have these stainless steel ball-end frets. If I were to do a sock test, and I have socks over there, I don't even need to do one because I mean, you just don't touch the fret. When you move your hand across this fretboard, you're just not even really touching them, which is nice. And then if you do happen to touch it, which you would if you curl your hand over, you're really just not going to feel anything. They're all perfectly smooth. I have a feeling you wouldn't catch any kind of a sock or a stocking on these frets. One thing I will say, and this is the first Firefly that I had this happen to me with, the frets were not perfectly seated. So when I got this guitar, some of them were raised, and only slightly, so I had to take a fret hammer and hammer down these frets. So because they weren't perfectly seated, they were not perfectly level. There was some leveling done. I did level out the frets on this fretboard, and because they're stainless steel, it took a lot longer, and I had never leveled stainless steel frets before. I'd leveled quite a few other types of frets, but stainless steel take a long time to get level, and even after that, I probably could have done a even better job, but they're level. If there's any rocking, it's so infinitely minute and minimal that it doesn't affect the playing at all. So I would say that these are like, certainly they will, you know, most guitar brands would sell you frets at this height or level without a second thought, but it's much better than when it came to me. So even when it came to me with the raised frets, it wasn't problematic. It didn't really cause any problems, but hammering down those frets and leveling them out, I was able to get the action a little bit lower, a little more comfortable. So the action, I have 5/64 down to about, I want to say 4/64 on the high E. It's descending from 5/64 to 4/64, and it feels good. So I was able to get the action very playable in here. The neck relief on this guitar, I believe it has a good amount of relief. I want to say it's like maybe 9/1000ths of an inch. It's pretty minimal. Fender recommends somewhere between 9 to 12, depending on where you measure. I want to say it's closer to 12 is what they recommend, if I'm not mistaken. But I like it a little flatter than that, so I went ahead and pulled it down a little bit. So after adjusting the truss rod, which was no problem, this guitar plays great. So moving on, we've got one of my other favorite things is that spoke wheel truss rod right here. So having that spoke wheel is really nice. You can adjust it with just a little metal steel pole that it comes with when you buy the guitar. Super easy, much more convenient than having to loosen strings and readjust, because if you've ever done work with a truss rod, you adjust it a little bit, you tune everything back up and you see how it feels and make sure your action's correct and you can raise and lower saddles. But you know, it can be a tedious process if you have to move it more than once. So having it here, having it here, makes it much easier. So that was one thing that one of the things that really sold me on these guitars. The fretboard, another thing to mention. This is a radius fretboard, so this is nice. This is a compound radius. I believe this was 9.5 to 14, and that was advertised on the site. So I like it. I like a 9.5 quite a bit, and then going up to 14. 14 is not my favorite. I like it about 12. But it doesn't matter, they're so close, you know, between 12 to 14, I wouldn't even notice even though someone told me. But, you know, much flatter than that, not a huge fan, but this feels great. It's really a pleasure to play. On the back, we have a flame maple neck. And it isn't like super flamey, some spots are, but like, it's not like completely uniform. And you know what, for a budget guitar, that's fine. If you were even to get this, like, less than perfect flame maple neck, it would pay a premium anywhere else. So the fact that it has this roasted flame maple neck is pretty awesome. It's great looking. I mean, it really does look quite nice. The fretboard edges, they were not rolled. I had to roll them. And I do that on most of my guitars. So if you expect a nice rolled edge, you're gonna have to do that yourself. So far, some of the things I've had to do, if we just go back to it, I did have to level the fretboard, I did have to roll these edges, and then we'll talk about pickups and some of the other stuff here. On the back, this is what I also like about Firefly guitars. If you look closely enough, and a lot of their guitars have this, they have a nice contoured heel joint. So if you can see that, it tapers in closer to the neck. It feels great, it's awesome. This cutout here is also great, feels really good. And of course you have your comfort card. These are standard on Strat style guitars. That's to be expected. This carve, however, is not. And when you hold it in your hand, it feels great. It just feels awesome. So those are some of the things, some of the other things I really like. Moving on, if we go down a little farther, the pickups sounded good. And you know, Firefly, I swear, all their bridge humbuckers measure at like 14 resistance. I'm pretty sure they have like a giant palette of just pickups, and they like put different covers or different bobbins, or like, I don't even know if they switch the bobbins, but they seem to be winding the same exact pickup, because every bridge pickup is like the same. They're just measured the same. And if you had two different groups of pickups and you were winding them slightly differently, like you would have a different resistance unless you were absolutely winding them the same exact way every time. So I'd be hard pressed to believe that there's different types of pickups. There might be in other models, but what came in the bridge was very similar to other Firefly guitars I've purchased. The two single coils, they sounded Stratty. They were fine. And again, you know, that's like a lot of what Firefly has to offer. Their pickups sound like good, fine to good. None of them sound bad per se, but they don't like blow me away. So of course, being the person I am, I had to switch them. So I've got the Seymour Vintage Hot Stack. It's like a hot Stratocaster stack here. And they're great. They are warmer. They call them like a medium output. So imagine like a vintage style Strat. It's a little warmer. And I like it. If I could actually go back, I do like these pickups, but if I were to go back and do it again, I would not get the hot wound ones. I would just get the standard. These are actually like marketed as like a bridge pickup, right? They say like if you were to get this hot wound, what you do is have two vintage style in the neck and the bridge, and put in the neck in the middle, and then put this hot wound vintage in the bridge to kind of, you know, make it less glassy and tinny. On their website, they're like, yeah, you can use it as a neck pickup and middle pickup. I'm like, all right, you know, I trust these guys. Let's put them in here. They sound good. They're just a little too hot for my liking. They like lend themselves to a certain style of music. I already have a Strat with like more vintage sounding pickups, so I'm not going to switch it out because I can already find that sound elsewhere. I'm not hard pressed for that particular sound or that tone. But the bridge had to go, and like I wanted something to match, because if I got these two pickups, I wanted something that would kind of like fill out this bottom end here. I can't remember the resistance on these, but they are much hotter than your standard single coil. I want to say they're like 12 maybe. I can't remember. Pretty hot. I'm probably wrong. Editor will probably come back and fix that. The bridge, however, is the JB. It's a JB model humbucker in the bridge, and I bought the trembucker, is what they call it, for the F spacing. So it you know, each string lines up with the pole piece. So here's one thing that you will have to get used to if you do switch out these pickups. I noticed that these two pickups did not perfectly fit in this slot that was already drilled, or well, you know, cut out for the pickups that existed in this, as the Firefly pickups that already existed. So I did have to widen these. It didn't take much, just some sandpaper. After I took the pickup out, I just rubbed it all the way around with some sandpaper, and it really didn't take a lot of effort, and they fit pretty easily. The bridge, however, was a little bit more problematic, and I'm seeing if you can get this. You'll notice there's a space above the humbucker. So the humbucker that they had in there was taller, like taller this way from here to here. And so when I put this JB model trembucker in here, it didn't quite fit. It didn't fill up the entire space. Now, if you're far away, you can't see it. And I'm sure you can see it here on camera, but overall, you know, it's not a big deal. But the other issue is that it's also wider. This Seymour Duncan pickup is wider than what the spacing was for this guitar. So I had to sand the sides here and here to get it to fit. And that took a lot more effort. It was like not gonna fit. So that took a lot more elbow grease, so to speak. And it wasn't a particularly fun job. So that was what it was, but it fits now and it's fine. And I just want a good playing guitar, and that's what I got. And it sounds great. It sounds great. These pickups definitely have a like vibe to them. If you're into playing rock, metal, whatever, you're gonna have a pretty good time with these pickups. They are noiseless, which is, you know, what I really like. And then you have your humbucker here, and you still get like those in-between stratty sounds. They're just a little hotter. So if you like that sound in the demo, then you know, I suggest picking them up. Again, the stock pickups were fine. You will not be disappointed with those if you're just looking for a nice little, like, you know, $200 beater guitar that you can just mess around with, have a good time, and have something that plays well. The last thing that I have to mention, the bridge here. The bridge that came with it, this is almost the same exact bridge. Godot makes almost the same bridge that that was on here, like stock that came on here, but the Godot bridge is better, and the reason I switched the bridge is it just didn't hold tune perfectly. It wasn't bad, it was just, I asked myself, like, could I get a bridge that perhaps holds tune a little better? And I had never bought a Godot bridge. I had bought plenty of, well, I had brought a Godot bridge, just not one with a floating trem or a trem unit. And I wanted to try it. I noticed that the cool thing about this bridge, and I'll show you again, the sides here kind of hold, there's like a block metal that hold the saddles in place so they don't move left or right. They don't like wobble at all. They're completely smoothed over, so there's no sharp edges, which is really nice. There's no protruding grub screws when you adjust the saddles here. So the bridge was a direct replacement. It was so nice. I just put it in there, and it works great. The spring seems to feel better, and this bridge, for some reason, they say holds tune better because the pole pieces are actually, as they go through the block, they don't sit at the end of the block near the saddle. They sit a little further down, so apparently that holds tune better. Godot's words, not mine. Something's working because this does hold tune better. It just does. So whatever they're doing there, they know what they're making. It feels better. As I don't know if it's just the springs or whatever, but like this bridge just works better. It just does. I also like that the arm has the stock one does not have a plastic collet in here. So there is a grub screw on the other one. So when you adjust the grub screw, it touches a black plastic collet. And let's see if I can get this in here. There's like a little ring of black in there, and that's a plastic collet that holds the arm in place. So when you move it or adjust it, it kind of sits in place, and it also doesn't wobble. Now on the one that came stock, there's no plastic collet. So it's just metal on metal, and like, it's not as smooth when you use the arm. If you're moving the arm, up and down is fine, but like, you know, your hand's gonna wiggle it from side to side, left to right. And it just doesn't feel good. So, you know, aside from just holding tune, the trem arm works a little bit better. I really like that. And this isn't like a super expensive bridge. I wanna say it was like, gosh, what was it? Like 115 bucks, $100. I think I might've got it on sale on Reverb or something. It was not expensive. So yeah, as far as the electronics go, standard full-size pots, 250K pots. The odd thing about this particular guitar is when I got it, it was wired differently than I expected. So I don't know if this is like a standard or not, but how I like it wired is the tone knob, the first tone knob, because of the setup. I want so you have your volume, tone. This tone knob here in the middle, I want it to do the tone for the bridge, for the neck in the middle. I want the 2 single coils to be on one tone knob, and I want the last tone knob to be just for the humbucker, so I can adjust them accordingly, right? I think that would be standard. However, how this was wired is this back tone knob was for the bridge in the middle, and then the middle tone knob here was for the neck. So what that meant, if, let's say I was playing the middle pickup and I rolled down the tone on how it was originally wired. Well, if I switch to the bridge, then that tone's wired like differently. That tone is also adjusted. But because it's a humbucker and a single coil moving between them, there's such a stark difference. Like the bridge here is so high output compared to these like stacked single coils, quote stacked single coils, they're like little mini humbuckers, but when you switch to it, it's a completely different sound. It's so loud, it's louder, and it pushes the amp harder. So when you're thinking about that, you have to, like, if you were moving between the middle and the bridge, you'd have to adjust your tone every time if you were into that or cared about that. So I rewired it when I put the new pickups in, and it's pretty easy to do. There's plenty of guides on how to do that. So if you're not afraid of little guitar work, I would highly recommend it. Or you can, talk to your tech and just make sure that, like, say, hey man, when you rewire this, can you make sure that the bridge is its own tone knob, if that's what you so desire. So yeah, I think we hit everything. All the electronics work. The jack works well too. I don't have any complaints about this guitar. It's a very good guitar. It required a lot more work than the other Fireflies because of personal tastes for a little bit of it. But for honestly, to make it I have a hard time saying, like, I really recommend this unless you're willing to work. I can say that, and that's fine, but some of the other Fireflies just out of the box are better. With this guitar, again, you might have to hammer in frets. You might have to do a little bit of leveling, which might not be fun. And you might want to replace the bridge. Those are all just playability standpoints, right? That has nothing to do with the pickups. But even those small things, let's say you didn't want to do your fret work, you're going to pay a lot for that. And then the bridge is $100. I would say that's a pretty easy install. Like, this can be done by yourself. Then again, you have to learn how to float a bridge, unless you want to deck it. Anyway, there's a lot of things there. I would say probably bridge installation is easier than fret work. So you got to decide if you want to do those things, or if potentially you may want to have someone do it for you. In any event, even if you do none of those things, this guitar for like $219 that I paid for it, it's phenomenal. Like, it's so much better than other guitars that I've bought at that price point. I would be hard pressed to find a Squire that good at this price point. It's just great. I highly recommend it. So I don't know if there's much more to say other than that. For some reason, I will say this. If you kind of peek in there, like here, you can kind of see under, like behind the bridge, you can kind of see where the route is. If you just look. So if that's going to bother you, that's another thing you might care about. You have to look so close, I don't care. But, it doesn't bother me. Yeah, I think that's the majority of it. I don't think I have anything else. So I guess that's where we're at, folks. Well, thanks for joining me. Let's go ahead and get to those demos. Dave Smith is going to take it away for me. And yeah, so enjoy those demos and let me know what you think. If you think, cheap Chinese guitars are not worth the trouble and you'd rather just go spend money to get something that you know would be of higher quality, tell me, let me know. Is this even worth it? Yeah, so anyway, enjoy. We'll come back to you guys in the comments. Let us know.